Hello everyone, Jarad Roper here. I'm with the legend, Gary Klein. How you doing today?
Pretty good. Yourself, sir?
Man, this is classic number 30 for you?
That is correct.
Man, you've been at this at a long time. Kind of explain, we were talking earlier before the interview started, the crazy decision to do this, but it's paid out for you. Kind of explain your beginning.
Well, it really has. You know, I was born and raised in Northern California, and at the age of 15, I was introduced to my first bass fishing tournament.
Okay.
And back then it was a $25 entry fee. $500 was first place.
A lot of money.
Yeah, and I was working in a marina on Lake Oroville called Bidwell Canyon Marina, and I was making $1.65 an hour. And I thought, you know, $500 a weekend, if I was a tournament fisherman, I could win every weekend.
Mm-hmm.
That's $2,000 a month. I mean, you know, that's just the way I thought. But, you know, really since then I've learned it's a very humbling sport. No matter who you are, how well you think you have them figured out, things change. Mm-hmm. And so it's a very intriguing sport for me. It constantly pushes you. And yes, this is my 30th Bassmasters Classic. I competed in my very first one in 1979. 1979.
Awesome, awesome. So the first one to this one, give me maybe like 2 or 3 things that have really changed.
Well, what really has changed for me is the first one in 1979, when I showed up, I knew that I had something that very few anglers had. I mean, they had no knowledge, they had no equipment of the flipping technique. That's the reason why I was able to start at such a young age, is I was raised by a friend of mine, D. Thomas. And D. Thomas was the inventor of the flipping technique. Yeah. And Dave Glebe came out and fished and did very well. But when Glebe was out, I could flip circles around Glebe. Mm-hmm. But I was only 15 years old, right. And I was kind of trying to get out of California and finally graduated high school. Then I left in 1979, but I had something nobody else had. I had a way and a means of catching good quality fish. And at that time, those type of fish were unmolested. Nobody knew that even existed. Move that up to this classic here in 2014, all these anglers have been very well educated. So things in that respect have really, really changed. But the bottom line is the angler that wins this classic will have to tie a lure on the end of his line and make a cast to catch that fish. And that's one part of fishing that will never change. Mm-hmm. Whether you're fishing off the bank, out of a canoe, a float tube, right, or a really nice bass boat. You still have to make that cast, and that's the knowledge that I try to constantly get better at.
Awesome. That's good information.
Well, thank you.
Well, I know you're pretty excited that maybe it's a little cooler weather and we don't have the bugs problem, so you don't have to use the rappel a lot.
Well, I still carry it with me. You never know.
Right. Well, is there anything that I know a lot of young people are getting into fishing. You know, you have the high school fishing that's really getting big, and then college fishing is already up there. What is your advice to those? Because you started off young.
Well, yeah, I started off in high school.
Right.
I was a sophomore in high school when I fished my very first event, and the biggest piece of advice I could give is fish for the right reasons. And I fish still today because I have a true passion for the sport. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's in my blood. It's the way I was raised. I hunt, fish, outdoors. I would love to see more young individuals get involved in fishing, because one thing that I would tell them is that looking back, as we often do with our lives and our careers, there's nothing that I feel that I could have gotten more involved in than bass fishing that's taught me more about the individual that I am today. Because along with success comes responsibility. Along with a relationship comes responsibility. Along with a family. You know, so really bass fishing has been the vehicle that has taught me all these, you know, life lessons. And I wouldn't have traded it for anything in the world. Awesome. It's been a fun ride.
Awesome. Well, I'm with the legend, Gary Klein, 30th Bassmaster Classic. Thank you for your time.
Appreciate it very much. Thank you.
Good luck on the water.
Appreciate it. Thanks.